Hey everyone, so I've got a really exciting episode today. I managed to sit down with Dr. Jimmy Yen. He runs a successful clinic in Austin, Texas, and he sees over 110 to 140 patients per week, manages a staff of 9 people, and does all the marketing by himself. So, like myself, he started off broke. He had his back against the corner, and we talked about it, and I asked him what his most effective way to start a successful acupuncture from scratch, what he did. And it was really interesting. So we talked about mainly how to find a mentor as well. He's really, really big on mentoring. So how to find a mentor, what questions to ask a mentor, and what to look for in a bad mentor actually as well. I asked him how he trains his staff, what his vision was, his definition of success, and yeah, it's a really good one. I really hope if you're getting ready to graduate or just starting your practice, I think this one's a very valuable one for you. So here we go.
Thanks for tuning in. So today I've got a very special guest, Jimmy Yen. So he is an experienced acupuncturist in the field of many different things. He treats degenerative eye diseases, gynecology, internal. He actually performs an average of 110 to 140 treatments per week, does all the marketing, and manages a staff of 9. So I'm really, really happy to have him on here. Thank you, Jimmy, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So how did this start? How did your TCM journey start and your practice?
Well, TCM journey, long story short, my dad kind of got me into it. He studied it when he didn't treat anybody, but he was actually a computer science major. But he's always been in health, and he started learning acupuncture in Taiwan and told me about it. At that time, I was at UT Austin, and that's how I got my foot in the door. And so, obviously, being Asian, being Taiwanese, it's in our culture. Yeah. So a lot of it made perfect sense. It wasn't like anything foreign. Because we were living it a lot of the times. So that's how I got into acupuncture and went to a school here in Austin, Texas for acupuncture.
Oh, cool. So when did you graduate? Was that in 2004?
Yeah, I graduated in 2004.
Okay, so the practice management side of it, what is it like in Austin? Do they talk about marketing? Do they talk about practice management?
Well, it's probably like every school around the world. They teach you zero about business, or they have someone who's not successful in business teaching you how to do business. And so, yeah, we learned. I would say we didn't learn anything. We learned what not to do. Okay, certain things. What are the things that you do that will lead you to failure? Those are the things.
But you've managed to make a successful practice, yes. And you've managed to make it work. And Fox News 7, Austin Local News, Natural Grocers, University of Texas A&M, Natural Alliance, Neuropathy Alliance of Texas. How were you able to build these connections and build this network?
So I'll give you the what do you call the generic version or the politically correct version, and then that's kind of how I'm going to answer these questions. Is I'll give you the politically correct version, the PC version versus the reality. Okay, the PC version is I do. I produce great results, patients, talk to other people, and I was invited to some of these groups to talk, and that's kind of how, I got to some of these talks. The reality, what most people won't tell you, some of these are paid for. So you pay to get onto these things, right?
Crazy. Okay.
Yeah, and so especially like TV, a lot of it's paid. People won't tell you that, but a lot of it's paid. Some of it you can get on for free, but there's a process that you need to go through, which involves paying money to someone to help you get through the process. But for me, some of it was a combination of me going out and getting it, which means me going out and looking for opportunities and contacting different groups and getting them and say, hey, do you ever have speakers at your group? If you do, then I say I'm an acupuncturist and I treat blah, 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 blah. That's one way that I did it. another way, it was also knowing people, right? It's very important it's not about what you know, it's who you know. So, but you won't know who you know unless you get out there and network and get to know people, right? So me getting out my first year in practice, I would go to a networking group, one networking group every single day, 4 days out of the week.
Wow.
And so that was another one, getting to know people. The third one is, like I said, paying. So you can pay to get onto TV, right? And so that's just the reality of the business. And so when you see other acupuncturists or any practitioners or doctors on TV, a lot of times they pay to get on there. It's not necessarily they get invited, but other times there are situations where you can get invited.
That's crazy. So what has worked the best for you? The paying route, or the networking 4 days a week, or just getting out, or just would you say a combination?
What do you
of everything?
mean by what has worked? What has worked for building my practice? Okay.
Yeah. That's what I meant. What has worked for building
those things? So it's different. Okay. So and this is, I'll break it down, because these are the questions that I would ask someone, a successful acupuncturist, right? It's not so important about what I'm doing right now. What's most important is what I did when I first started, right? Those are the questions that I ask successful acupuncturists. What did you do when you first started? Not what you did right now, because right now you have money. You have help. I don't have, back then I didn't have that, right? And so all these TV stuff, I have money right now, and that's why I can pay for those. But what truly built my practice was health screens. I built my practice on doing health screenings. That's the cheapest way. And even today, even though I have one of the largest clinics in Austin, I still do health screenings. But that is my number one way of how I built my practice.
Okay, so could you talk a bit about health screenings? What you do? Is it a health fair? Or could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so health fairs are health screenings. I would say health fairs are the worst place to do health screenings. And so what you'll learn from me is I do everything opposite of what everybody else does. And so where I go to craft markets. I go to places where people are going there to spend money. Okay, they're going to buy something. It could be a craft market, it could be a bridal show, it could be a gun show, just any place that they're going there knowing that they're going to spend money. Those are the best places to do a health screening. The worst place is the health expos, the health fairs, because people are going there to get free stuff. And they're just going to the table, what do you got for free?
Yeah.
And I don't give out anything for free. So
that's pretty crazy. So you can apply. They just hey, I'll take your money, and then let you right in.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
I mean, the shows, the people that put on these shows, they make money from vendors. They make money from vendors and also sponsors, right? Yeah. And so they want most of the time, not all the time, I would say 90% of the time, they want anybody and everybody to set up a booth. Because some of these booths cost quite a bit. Like some of them I've paid $500 for a booth, right? And majority of them are under $100.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Actually, you're not the first person that say just do the opposite of what everyone's doing and you'll be successful. I think Will was talking about that as well. So I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah. I mean, with very, when you talk to other successful acupuncturists, or actually not just acupuncturists, other business people, successful business people, right? They always say, you just look at the norm, look at your field, look at what 90% of your field is doing, and do the exact opposite, and you'll succeed.
Yeah, that's I'm starting to see that. That's the pattern. Like the more people I'm interviewing, and it's quite unfortunate because you're literally told nothing in school. I went to school in China, but it's not that much different. I think it's probably, if anything, it's even worse because they even talk less about marketing. I'm just part of a hospital. Like I'm a little an underling. I just kind of do what they tell me. And I just got here and I was like, oh wow, like there's so many people doing things. I have to reach out to these people. So with the health screening, are you more of a pulse guy, or do you do what do you do, like an assessment?
Yeah, I've done everything, anything and everything. So I've done gadgets. I've done something similar to like what is that? Those right, what is it called? Raidoku or something like that.
Okay, I haven't
I
heard
don't
of
know
it.
if you. There's some famous, I mean, popular company that does. Anyways, some gadget machines
Okay.
or something like that, right? I've done
Yeah.
those. Those get people in, but they don't close people.
Okay.
And I've done free consultations. I've done. I've never done acupuncture. That's one thing. Not just from a legality standpoint. Just it's you don't do acupuncture at the health screenings. I've done pulse, and that's what I currently do. I do pulse right now. I've also done so before I learned the pulse. I learned Richard Tan's balance method,
Hmm.
and so instead of using needles, I just use my finger. And so I would do acupressure. So I would do acupressure for pain relief at the screenings. That's how I started. I did that. That was probably my most profitable screening technique in the beginning. And now I do pulse diagnosis. Since I'm a lot better with pulse, I do pulse diagnosis.
Okay, so so when you talk about close, like, do you say, "Hey, I'll book you in right away," or could you walk me through the process? Like, they come in, like, "Hey, what's this booth about?"
Yeah. So what you do, you need to, if you're by yourself, then I've done these all by myself. Now, since I have more staff, then I have people that do it for me, right? So you need a greeter. So if you're by yourself, you're the greeter. You're everything. So you bring people in. Say, hey, I have a sign. In the beginning, I would have a sign that says, "Oh, free pain relief treatment," and I would just ask people, "Oh, hey, do you have any pain right now?" And so we're offering a free pain relief treatment. And so that would get people to stop by. I'd have them sign in. And now I just do it, since I do the pulse diagnosis, I'll just say, hey, have you ever had a Chinese pulse diagnosis? And of course, everybody's going to like, what? Right?
Yeah.
And so then you explain, okay, the pulse diagnosis is one of the diagnostic tools we use to determine how your organs are functioning in your body. It'll only take a few minutes. Would you like to do it? And of course, most people, 90% of the time, will say yes, right? And then they sign in. So they sign in, and then I do either, in the beginning, I was doing the acupressure. So I ask them, where do you feel the pain? Make them induce the pain. And then do the balance method with my fingers, push on it, and just have them move the affected part again. And their pain would sometimes go away, and most of the time it would reduce. And then I would tell them, hey, so if I'm using acupressure and it's already reducing your pain, have you ever tried acupuncture? Because acupuncture will work a whole lot better and give you a more lasting response. Then they would say yes or no. Yeah. If they said no, they haven't tried acupuncture, well, would you like to get rid of this pain? If they say no, then I just let them go. I say, okay, well, thank you for stopping by. And that's it, and let them go. If they say yes, then I would say, okay, great. So in order to come into our clinic, the first step is to come in for initial exam. The initial exam normally is a 287, but if you sign up for today, if you book the initial exam today, right now, it is only 47. And so they pay 47 right then. Now for the pulse, similar. I read the pulse and I tell them, okay, you got this wrong. Do you want to get rid of any of this? If they say no, then I let them go. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We're here, and anytime you need us, let them go. If they say yes, yeah, I want to. Of course, I mean, most people are going to say yes.
Most people
What
are
are
gonna
they
say
going to
yes.
say?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
No, I don't want to get her
have
diabetes.
Yeah, I don't want to give her my diabetes. No, I love my diabetes. I want to keep it. Yeah. And so they say yes, then I say the same thing. I'll say, well, here's our process. The process to come into our clinic is, number one, you have to come in for initial exam, and it's normally 287. However, for today, it will be 47. So do you want to do it? And then I'll just stare at them until they say yes. Yeah.
Usually
So
the present, like a couple seconds of process, right?
Well, yeah. This is, I mean, I could spend a whole day on how to close, okay? Not just in screenings, but also in the office. Yeah. One of the things that acupuncturists have a huge problem with, including myself, and I'm talking mostly about myself, because I went through all of it. I've been there, done that. I've probably tried more things than many of the acupuncturists that I know. And one of the biggest things the flaws that I had in the beginning was I talked too damn much. And so I would ask the question and then I wouldn't let them process it, and I would like keep on talking. And that's the worst thing you can do, is keep on talking. And also not asking directly. I literally ask them, do you want to do it? And that's exactly what I say. Do you want to do it? And I wait for them, yes or no. And if they say yes, okay, how are you going to pay for it? We can take cash, check, or charge. And so how would you like to pay for that? And then they'll say, oh, do you take Visa? Yes. Can I have your Visa card? I'll get it and I'll swipe it. I charge them, then I book them. Then I book them on the appointments. So I make them pay. Everybody, in the beginning, I did do some free consultations. I probably did it once or twice. And I would have, I would sign up 14 to 20 people and maybe 5 showed up. And so you always have to collect money. And so now I collect money. Sometimes I collect 87. Sometimes I collect 29. I just change it up depending on, how our volume is in that week. And so, but now every time I take money, you don't pay me, you don't get to get on my schedule.
That makes sense, because then they have skin in the game. They have something to lose. Like, oh, at least it's some kind of a number where they're like, okay, well, wait. Yeah, it's a commitment. Exactly. It shows their level of commitment. So when you close, you just tell them, okay. And I think it's really funny because it's just a natural thing. When you're asking for something, you get a little bit nervous, you get jittery, so you kind of want to break that awkward silence.
Yes.
But in doing so, you kind of completely ruined it, because like, well, wait a minute, I'm still trying to think here. Why you keep talking to me? Like, I have to.
Exactly. One of my mentors told me, actually a few of my mentors told me, so when you're in the close, when you're trying to close someone, that silence, okay, whoever breaks that silence first loses. I mean, they don't really lose, but in the sense that, whoever talks first usually is the one being sold and not the one selling.
So speaking of mentors, what was your mentor in the acupuncture industry, or was that from a different industry?
This is a topic I love. Mentors. I love mentors. I have like 6 coaches. And so I completely believe in coaches. I think everybody, not just acupuncturists. Yeah, everybody. We just look at all the sports. How many of the sports? How many coaches do they have?
Michael Jordan.
I play tennis. Yeah. Exactly, right? Well, I play tennis, and so like Nadal, he's got like at least 3 coaches. One for the tennis skills, one for physio. He's got so many coaches. We all need a coach for everything. And so my mentors in the beginning were not acupuncturists. There was reasons for that. One of them was I didn't know many successful acupuncturists when I first started, right? That was one reason. Number 2, the successful acupuncturists that are approached to me, they were assholes. They didn't want to help. And so that's why I couldn't get any help from there. And so my very first mentor was actually I met in my networking group. So this is like networking didn't really get me new patients. And so, but one of the most important things that networking got me was my first mentor. And he was a millionaire chiropractor that I talked to. I had to go get it. He didn't talk to me. So I saw him, I introduced myself to him, and I asked him about his practice, which I love. This is why I loved him. This is what he's one of my favorite mentors, is because if I asked him a question, he would answer it. He wouldn't tell me, oh, don't ask me that, or I'm not going to answer that. So I asked him, how big is his practice? How much did he make? I asked him all these questions that people are scared of asking, right? And I asked him, and he was like, yeah, he's got $1 million practice. And I'm like, hey, can I come to your practice and just, talk to you, shadow you, and just look at how you have your systems? And he said yes. And so when I went to his clinic, from when I stepped into his clinic, I started asking questions. And I never stopped asking him questions. I followed him everywhere. I spent probably at least an hour there just asking him questions. And then when he was closing up his clinic, I was still asking him questions. I walked I walked him to his car, and it wasn't until he stepped into his car and closed his door that I stopped asking him questions. And the last question I asked him was, "Can I ask more questions?"
Very
So
persistent.
he was awesome.
And he wasn't
Yeah,
annoyed. He wasn't annoyed at all, was
no.
he?
Well, as my first, he was my first mentor, so I was super excited. And then as you know, as I built some success in my practice and met more successful business people, I saw a trend. The truly successful people that truly want to help others, they love questions. They love people ask. I mean, they're not going to give you the information for free. Like he never would just tell me, "Oh, do this, do that, do this," but he would answer every single one of my questions. So if I didn't get the answer that I wanted, it was because I didn't ask the right question, and that actually helped me with patience too. Because if you're not getting the answer that you want from your patients, then it's not the patient's fault. It's your fault. You didn't ask the right question. So he taught me that just by, I have to ask the right questions if I want him to tell me a certain thing. And so, yeah, he was awesome, and we're still great friends. And he was my very first mentor. And I don't think I had so that was in 2007 when I started my practice. And I had my first acupuncturist mentor in 2002. Let me see, I think that was 2012. So it wasn't until 2012, 5 years later, that I had my first acupuncturist mentor, which is very sad. And that's why, I want to do things like this, like, interviews. Yeah. And then I'm on Facebook, the Will's group, just sharing information, detailed information about what I do, because I didn't have that in the beginning. And the few acupuncturists that were successful, they were like, hush, hush. I even had an acupuncturist that I asked him some questions, just like I asked my first mentor, and he was like, you shouldn't be asking those questions. And then that was it. It was like a 2-minute conversation. He shut me down.
You shouldn't be asking those questions. He's kind of like, that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, nobody is going to mentor you if you ask these questions. And so I don't know why I get so much resistance with acupuncturists, but I right now I have another mentor. He's not in the healthcare business. He actually is in the staffing business. He's a CEO of a $10 million company. And same thing. I can ask him every single question. And I know it's a $10 million business. I didn't have to ask him. He just told me how much his business is doing, where he started off from, how did he grow it. It started from a $2 million business, and he grew it to a $10 million business, which is about to be a $50 million business. And that's another thing. Mentors that truly want to help you, they freely share, doesn't matter, financial information. If you ask them, they answer it. They have nothing to hide. And so one of the things, like I said, I love this topic because it's missing in the acupuncture field. I wish more acupuncturists would be more open to sharing.
That's exactly it. And I don't know why. I don't know why particular only in our field. As soon as you bring up the topic of numbers, patient numbers, income, it's almost like it raises red flags. People get offended. I think it comes to just down to basic insecurities. And it's like, I don't want to get found out. Like I'm not all people, but a lot of people still get caught up in the game of I'm the master at what I do. But if I get revealed that I'm not as successful as I portray myself to be, then I'll get found out. So there comes the hush hush. There comes, and that's what I wanted to address as well. And that was one of my reasons, because I know you're very open and you're very about not just about yourself, about just everyone, all of us being completely open. I myself, I started out broke, and I was like, you know what? I'm gaining momentum, but I really, really want to reach out to people like yourself that just say, hey, let's be open about these numbers. Let's see what you can. So when looking for a mentor, I noticed I myself, I've taken so many these hokey online courses, and none of it seemed to work. And I blamed myself. I was like, that's got to be me. I'm doing something wrong. And I found out later on, it's like, maybe there's something more to this. Maybe I'm not an idiot. So what do you look for? Like, say if I was interested in someone's mentoring program or practice management, what do you look for? What would you suggest a new student or new practitioner to look for in a mentor or a coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm glad you asked that. So one of the things that I continuously look for mentors. Like I said, I have so many coaches. I will always get more coaches. I always believe in coaching. And so one of the things is one word, transparency. That's one thing because I've spent over 200,000 on coaching. Okay, so I've learned what are bad coaches. So the number one thing is transparency. Is that person transparent with you? If you feel like they're not transparent with you, walk away. Because they're just trying to make money off of you. They're not trying to help you. Okay, and so transparency means, just like what I said with my first mentor. If you ask a question, do they answer it? Right? I mean, are you going to know if it's true or not? Probably not. But the next step is transparency. Also, is showing your books. How many acupuncturists are willing to show their books? Right? Because what I said in Facebook quite a bit is numbers don't lie, people do. And so I manage my team, my staff based off numbers. I don't base it off how I feel. Numbers don't lie. And so if they're afraid to talk, if you have a program that you're trying to get into, if they don't talk about numbers, that's a red flag. If they don't want to talk about numbers, that's a huge red flag. Business is all about numbers. All the $1 million, $1 billion businesses, it's all about numbers. I mean, yes, we're a small scale, but still, it's all about numbers. And if people don't talk about numbers, then they're not being transparent with you, and they are hiding something. And one thing that I've found spending 200,000 on mentors and coaches is that there are more and more successful acupuncturists, millionaire acupuncturists, above, more than six-figure acupuncturists. A lot of them, they don't know why they're successful, in the sense that they can't duplicate their success. Okay, they may have gotten success because of luck here and there. Certain things panned out. They're in the right state. They got great insurance. They know somebody. I know an acupuncturist that her husband is the top-notch lawyer in Austin, and he fills her practice with patients, right? So she's successful because of that, not because of anything else. Of course, she's not going to tell you that. And so a lot of the acupuncturists, what I have found is when I talk to them in more detail, if they're willing to share, so that's another thing, if they're sharing, right? When I do talk to them in detail, they really don't know why they're successful. And so if they don't know why they're successful, how are they going to teach you how to be successful? Yeah. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
A system needs to be, so they truly don't have a good system. A system has to be has to be duplicatable, right? And so can you duplicate that and in any type of environment? Because if let's just say, a good example is insurance. So a lot of successful, like the $1 million acupuncturists now, a lot of them are in great states, are states that have great insurance. My practice is only 10%, 10 to 15% insurance. So predominantly my practice is 90% cash. Okay. And so a lot of these other practices, their practices are minimum of 50% insurance. Some of them are 90% insurance, right? So they are millionaires because of that.
Because of insurance,
Exactly. So if they moved into a state like where I'm at, where insurance sucks, and they no longer have insurance, then could they be successful? I don't know. But their their business model in an insurance model may not work for a state where it's only cash. However, if you're in a state where it's all cash, you will thrive in an insurance model. Because if my practice was 50% insurance, I would have $1 million practice right now.
That's kind of crazy. It's
yeah. So insurance is a game changer, but I just use insurance as an example.
Yeah.
And then there's other variables, and these are things that people don't like to talk about. They're like, if you have great skills, you're going to be successful, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I know acupuncturists that have crappy skills and are more successful than majority of the acupuncturists.
Yeah. That was actually my next question I was going to ask you. I mean, I know you already know the answer to this, but who has more chances of being successful? A great acupuncturist with no business skills, or a crappy acupuncturist with good business skills?
Yeah, business skills any day. And actually, one of your questions is, I love this question because when I interview associates for my acupuncture associates, that's in my interview questions. I asked them that specific question that you asked, that you wrote was, right here. How much time should a student or new practitioner be working on in their marketing versus acupuncture skills? Which is more important? So I asked that question to gauge the people's acupuncturist mindset when I'm filtering through them, right? And so I would say in the beginning, 95% of your time should be on marketing, 5% of your time on treatment skills. And that's very generous already. Now, in my current state of practice, I still would say 70% of your time should be spent on marketing, 30% of your time spent on treatment skills.
My conversation with you, I'm like having flashbacks of everything I've been doing the last 5 years, and it really is I'm doing the exact opposite of everything that you've been doing, and I'm realizing like just now, I realize why the profession is in dire need. A lot of acus, even me, I spend so much time refining, like researching this skill, researching that technique, this technique. And lately, in the past year or two, I've realized like it's not the skill at all. It really is the business. It really is the marketing. What is it like treating 110 to 140 treatments? Like, first of all, I'm just gonna even back up again. How did you start off? Like, what was that inflection point where you realized like, okay, I can't do this alone. I need staff. Like, at what number were you like, I need staff?
Well, I do things differently, right? Yeah. So I don't wait till I need staff to hire staff. So when I first started, I hired it in the anticipation that I will get busy and I will need them. So when I first started in 2007, it was 4 months into practice, I hired my first part-time front desk. I didn't need her at that time, but I knew because the rate at the rate I was growing, I knew I would need her. So she was part-time for 1 month, and then she went full-time the next month.
Oh, wow.
So in the 5th month, I already had a full-time front desk. And I believe I hired my first associate the next year. So it wasn't because I needed them, but it's because I had a bigger vision. My vision in the beginning has always been to open multiple acupuncture clinics, and I wanted to scale up. And so that was my vision, and that's where I was going. And so I hired my first acupuncturist. I mean, I think, I can't remember. I have to look back at my stats, my numbers. But I think I was closer probably to 70, 80 a week at that time. I could have done all that by myself, but I wanted to start to expand. All right, I wanted to be able to have an associate take over my practice, and so that I can start expanding to open multiple clinics. So I've always hired early, so before I needed the staff. Unlike traditional is, you built it up to you're so busy you can't handle it, then you hire. By that time, a lot of times it's too late. It's not too late, but you won't have time. By the time you get to that, you're so busy, you don't have time to properly train them. And so if you don't properly train your staff, you could lose potentially great staff, which I have done many times.
Do you train them to the whole entire sales process as well? Do you tell them, okay, this is how you close, this is what you do, or are you in the room doing it and then they just do the treatments? How do you run it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, when they start off, it's different. So when I first started off, I would just have them do the treatments, because the closing process, the initial exam process, that is harder to learn. Acupuncture part is so easy, right? Yeah. I would say in an acupuncture treatment, the easiest job is the person sticking the needles in. That is the easiest. The hardest job is how to communicate to the patient. That's the hardest job. And so That takes time. You can't learn that overnight. It didn't take me over. It took me. I mean, I'm still learning how to communicate, right? And so it took me years to learn how to communicate effectively and correctly to the patient. And so, but now what I do, like I just hired a second associate a month ago, a few weeks ago. And so what I do now is I start them at the front desk. They need to learn everything that my front desk knows does. That's how I start them, because at that point, they're already starting to learn some communication, because the front desk talks to your patients more than you, right?
Yeah.
And so I start my associates at the front desk, get them to learn the ins and outs, how to schedule, how to book appointments, how the flow is, how to communicate with the patients, how to always have a smile every single day, right? These are a lot of things you can learn from the front desk. Once they pass that, then I'll start training them on the acupuncture part, the acupuncture skills, acupuncture communication, the pulse diagnosis, the herbs, and so forth.
How long does that take to get someone, say, proficient?
In what?
In that whole process that you described, like say going from the front desk to treatment, and then at the end just doing your sales process for you. How long on average, I know everyone's different.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had any associate that has successfully been able to take over everything. So that's why I've gone through quite a bit of associates. And so because I'm looking for the right one, and I'm trying to train the right one. My other associate I currently have, she's been the best associate I've ever had. And she's getting close. Her closing percentage is not as high yet. She's closing about 60%, 60 to 70%. It needs to be more in the 80, 90%. But she's getting close. So she's been with me for 8 months.
8 months, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So what would you, I think there's a huge stigma in I don't know why, but just alternative medicine in general. Like, we're afraid to take money, as if someone wrote on the other day, like, are you allergic to money? Like it's such a, and I think that's a problem in the industry, because we are here to help people, but if we can't open our doors, how do we, how do we help people? What would you say to a person on the fence of like, I want to treat, but I just want to treat. I don't want to do sales. I don't want to do marketing. I just want to treat. I just want to help people. What would you say to a person like that?
That's a great question. So one of the things is we're selling, like money, the word money, the word sell, these two have had a bad rap. They have such a negative connotation. In my opinion, the word sell and money, they're positive things, right? But many of the acupuncturists, they see it as a negative thing. And so one of the things I would first start is to say, I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling at all to my patients. The only thing I'm doing is I'm communicating. That's all I'm doing. I'm just communicating what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to help you. This is the fee for it. I'm just communicating. I'm giving you the options. So I'm not selling you anything. I'm just giving you the facts, and the patient makes a decision by themselves. So if you have a bad connotation for the word sell, you just think of it as communicating. You're just communicating. You've done your exam, so you're just communicating to the patient. This is what I found. This is what we need to do, and this is the fee that's involved. And would you like to do that? If you just said that, that's just communicating, right? You're not really selling. You're not selling them at all. You're giving them facts, and you're letting them make the decision whether they want to do it or not. Now, there's different ways of communicating to get the person to say yes majority of the time, right? That takes practice, takes skills. But it's more, if you think about it as communication instead of selling, that can help a lot. I think that's helped, because I do this training with all of my team members, not just my associates. I do it for my front desk, because my front desk are the people that collect money, right?
So people that don't want to collect money, that's a problem.
Exactly. That would be a big problem. So if they have an aversion to money, then And so in my team meetings, I always talk openly about money. Just like money is just like, how many patient visits are you treating, right? What did you eat for dinner? It's just information. That's all it is. It's nothing, it's nothing special. And so now the people who have aversion to money, well, that's kind of hard. That's a little more difficult. Okay. Well, we all heard that, if you're in the business of helping people, of course you got to keep your doors open, right? Your money is what the patient values. So if they don't pay you money, then they're not valuing what they're doing. They're not valuing you also, but they're not valuing their decision. So money is just a sign to say, hey, I value your service. I value you. And so if you have a problem, if an acupuncturist has a problem, with money, I think it's a bigger issue with themselves. There's something going on in themselves. And I see this with my associates, it's confidence. Whether it's confidence in themselves or confidence in Chinese medicine. Because you'll be surprised, because I asked my associates, I was on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being 100% confident in Chinese medicine, how confident are you? Not everyone says 10, which I'm shocked. I'm like, why'd you go to acupuncture school then?
Yeah.
But so the acupuncturists that are having aversion to money, I think they may not believe in acupuncture that much. I've seen that with some of my associates. They don't, and therefore they're afraid to ask for money because they're thinking about they're trying to. Then they think they're selling something because they don't have confidence in acupuncture, so they think they have to sell acupuncture to get paid.
Right. Because if you're not 100% in, then you're saying that I'm trying to sell you something that you may not need.
Exactly.
It may not be good for you
because they don't even believe in it. Yeah. If the acupuncturist doesn't believe in it, then it really seems like they're selling.
That's true. So I wanted to ask you a bit about, I always ask everyone, like, what is your definition of success? Because it's thrown around so much, and there's always someone that'll just reply right back, and they're like, well, how do you find success? What is success? Is success money? Is success or someone will be like, I just want to be happy. That's the most common thing I hear. I just want to be happy. So how do you define success?
So the PC version?
Both. Give me, both.
The PC version is yes, whatever makes you happy, right? Success is so much different. Everybody's different. It's not all about money.
Yes.
It's about work-life balance, blah, 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 all that stuff. So my definition, reality, we're in business. Okay, if we're talking about business, are you talking about business success or personal success? That's different too.
Both, yeah. Both.
Yeah. Business, so business success is all about money, in my opinion. And that has changed. So when I first started, not many acupuncturists were successful. At least I didn't know any. And so I was thinking, oh, hey, if I can gross 100,000 in a year, man, that would be awesome. And so that at the beginning when I first started, that was my definition of success. Right? It's not how many patients I treat. It's about the revenue, right? And so once I achieved that after my first year, I was like, oh crap, I need a new goal now. And so my definition of success changed to, okay, man, it would be awesome if I could net 100,000, right? A few years later, did that. I'm like, okay, I need a new definition. So now my definition is $1 million practice. So success to me, business success is $1 million practice, right? Personal success, it's about doing, this is not PC, but this is doing what you love to do every single day. Being able to do what you love to do every single day and making a great living doing that. And so I'm in the position where I'm having personal success. Business success is not there yet, but that's my goal. And so that is helping people, because many of us got into the acupuncture business to help people. Not all of us are want to help people, but I do want to help as many people as I can. And so that's about increasing how many people I can help and increasing the treatment, the patient visits, right? Because that tells me how I'm helping a lot of people. I mean, I love there's some, I won't say any names, but there are some really successful acupuncturists who's helping tons of people. He gets a bad rap, but he's helping tons of people. And so I have to, give him credit where credit is due. And so helping a lot of personal success to me is helping a lot of people with Chinese medicine and doing what I love to do. I work 80 hours a week, but work is, to me, I'm doing what I love to do, so it's not really work.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes I work 90. I could say I work 90 hours because if I'm not eating, sleeping, drinking, exercising, spending some time with my family, then I'm all about acupuncture, about Chinese medicine and the business of Chinese medicine.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
10 years, multiple clinics throughout, definitely throughout the state of Texas, and hopefully multiple clinics throughout the U.S. and Europe, maybe in Australia.
Cool.
Just having a brand, have you heard of the Mayo Clinic?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
even over there, everybody's heard of Mayo Clinic,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
I want to build the Mayo Clinic of Chinese medicine
That's
across international.
That's a cool vision. Yeah. So mill at least to get to that level. Yeah. So I just had one last question for you, Jimmy. So for a new practitioner, a student getting ready to graduate, what is the one piece of just one thing, if you could tell them one thing to do before you open up practice, like what is the one thing you would tell them to do?
One thing, and I actually did help an acupuncturist open up his practice before he graduated. So the one thing is study marketing. Get your not just marketing, but business, because you need systems. Once you get the patients in, you need systems inside your office to process them, right? Because if you can't process them, then you have a bucket with holes in the bottom, right? So it doesn't matter how much marketing you do, you have big holes in your bucket. So learning marketing business, that's the number one thing you should focus 100% of your time on. Use what you have learned in school, even though it only works 50%. I did 100,000 using what we learned in school.
That's
my
not
first
bad.
year.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Not bad. Not too shabby, right?
Yeah, that's not
And
bad.
and that was getting only probably 50% results.
Yeah.
That just shows you it's not about the skills, right? So I didn't learn the balance method until second year in practice. I didn't start improving my skills until my second year in practice.
So when you say marketing, do you mean by online marketing? Do you mean getting out networking, doing screenings?
Mm-hmm. So I can tell you based on what I did. So similar like you, when I started my practice, I was broke too. I didn't have money. My wife and I, we just got married, and not just married, but we were newlyweds. And she just started she was just in the beginning of her career. Like when we first met, she just got her first job. And so at the time when I was opening my practice, she was making about, I think she was making about $40,000, but she was supporting 4 people, me, her, and her parents. So 4 people were living off of $40,000, which is not a lot.
Yeah.
It's tough. We cut our monthly expense to $3,000 a month. I mean, we were living very frugal. Okay. And we still were able to save. And so so I had no money to open my practice, and I had $100,000 in debt with, going to school and stuff. So the way that I opened my practice was I got a credit card in the mail that said, hey, we'll loan you $10,000 and no interest for 1 year. That's how I started my practice, with that credit card. And so so the reason I'm telling you all this, to answer your question, so I didn't have money to waste in the beginning. Online marketing, that's a waste of money. I mean, it works. Don't get me wrong. All marketing works. But online marketing costs a whole lot of money that most of us don't have in the beginning, right? So you need to find ways that are the cheapest ways to do marketing. The marketing that requires less money and more time. Because in the beginning, we have time. We have no patience, right? And so you use your time in place of money. And so that's why I did health screens. Health screens, like I said, the events, a lot of times they were like $50 for the event, $75. I mean, you have to buy all the material, but you just buy it once. The tables and blah, 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 you know. You just buy it once and you can use it. I've used it for 10 years, right? And so in the beginning, health screens were the cheapest. Actually, not the cheapest. Networking was the cheapest. Networking didn't cost any money.
No.
You just show up, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't get a lot of patience from networking, like I said, but I got my first mentor, which was more valuable than anything. But it also taught me how to overcome my fear, because most acupuncturists or most people are introverts. And I was a super introvert. I mean, I hated going to those networking groups. I hated them with a passion. But I was backed into the corner. I had to succeed. My wife could not support us if we continued on this path. So I had to succeed. And so I forced myself to go to one networking group every single day to get myself out of my shell. And so that is the cheapest one. And then I did health screenings. I did a health screen once a week for the first year. Every week I did a health screen. And so that was the cheapest way. And I know this works, not only because I've done it multiple times throughout these 10 years, but I helped another acupuncturist in another state do the same thing. And so before he graduated, so he was about to graduate, and we found a location. We helped him find a location and set up. And before he graduated, we had already planned out screening events. And he did these screening events before he was even officially open for business. He had 50 new patients on the books before he even opened his doors.
That's pretty amazing. That's pretty awesome.
He surpassed my clinic. I mean, he was doing 6 figures in 6 months. I mean, it's just, so I know my shit works. That's what I'm saying. Right?
That's absolutely amazing.
So that's to answer your question. That's what I know requires the least amount of money and gets the best bang for your buck. It just requires time.
Yeah. Thank you, Jimmy, very much. Where is the best place to find you? Where can, if someone wants to reach out to you, what is the best place to find you at?
I would say Facebook. Facebook. Hit me up on Facebook. I try to contribute. I've been slow the past few weeks just because I've been super busy with my clinic, but I try to answer questions in Will's group. Mostly just because the Chinese medicine practice management is because most people have a better mindset in that group. But yeah, if they ask a question, or a lot of the people just private message me. So I don't coach, and I'm not trying to do coaching. Okay. But I will say that some of the people in the groups have private messaged me, and I've kind of done coaching for them and help them, improve their practice. And still people can reach out to me. It's the same thing. I like to follow my first mentor. He basically said, if you ask a question, I will answer it. So if anybody asks me a question, I guarantee you I will answer it. I'm not going to be a dick and say, hey, I'm not going to answer that. It's just ridiculous.
Dr. Jimmy Yan, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. So that was my interview with Dr. Jimmy Yan, and I think he doesn't do any coaching, but you can always hit him up on Facebook. He's mostly active in Chinese medicine that works or Chinese medicine practice management. But if you're really enjoying these interviews, please share on social media, leave a comment. I really do appreciate your feedback and your input on these. I'm just learning along the way. I don't consider myself successful yet, but I think by each and every interview, I'm one step closer to it, and I hope this material is helping you out as well. Thank you very much.